Shalom, and welcome to Secrets Revealed, the Holy Bible. Today we're going to cover Exodus chapter 25. There are a total of 40 verses in this chapter. Beginning in verse 2, we have a major difference. A major diff. First fruits, take first fruits of all. Versus an offering, bring an offering. The feast of first fruits is also known as Sukkot in Hebrew, or in English, Pentecost. This is very important because it gives us a hint that this isn't just any regular, ordinary offering. This is the first fruits. This is a harvest of the first fruits. And it reiterates it at the end of the verse where it says, "You shall take my first fruits." These are not persons, it is the creators. It's the creator speaking. Whereas in the Masoretic text, it says, "You shall take my offering." So you can see this is hinting that it is Sukkot, it is Pentecost. It's related to that. The next verse we see here in verse 4, double scarlet, right here. Double scarlet versus just plain scarlet. Verse 5, blue skins. Blue skins. So notice in the first half of the verse, you have ram's skins dyed red. So these are from a clean animal, a ram, and it's dyed red. And then the blue skins, you can surmise that they are in fact ram skins that are dyed blue. In the Masoretic text, you see that the ram skins are dyed red. However, what was known as the blue skins in the Septuagint is now known as badger skins. Why would they take the skin of an unclean animal and use it for, of all things, for the tabernacle? Would that not be unacceptable? I'm thinking it would not be acceptable because it's an unclean animal. You can't use anything from an unclean animal for something set apart, like a tabernacle that is dedicated to the Creator, who is also holy and set apart. So I don't think this is a badger skin. I believe it is, as it says here, blue skins in the Septuagint, and they are dyed blue as well. So that's all for that one. Incorruptible wood versus Shittim wood. This is a continuous difference you will see throughout the narrative, throughout this text and this chapter. Verse 7, the whole verse is different, so let's go through it. Sardius stones. Sardius is a brownish red stone. Onyx, on the other hand, in the Masoretic, is a pitch black stone. Glossy, but it's pitch black. You can see that's a big difference there in terms of the appearance. And stones for the carved work of the breastplate. Masoretic says, and stones to be set in the ephod and in the breastplate. Excuse me, and the Septuagint says, and the full-length robe. So you have the full-length robe is not mentioned in the Masoretic, or if it is described as an ephod. It's more descriptive in the Septuagint, where it is a full-length robe. Ephod can be different things. Let me look it up. Okay, so the ephod is described as a linen garment, which is composed of the breastplate, containing the Urim and the Thummim. So this ephod is basically the totality of their vesture, whereas in the Septuagint, you see that it is saying the full-length robe, and it makes a distinction between the breastplate and the full-length robe. So those are separate. Those are separate items. So that's verse 7. Verse 8, appear. I will appear among you. Verses, I may dwell among them. Okay, so dwelling among them, that's not something that has happened. Perhaps you could stretch it a little bit and say that Elohim dwelled with them through the pillar of fire and the pillar of cloud when his glory would descend on the tabernacle, but that's not his, it's not really his glory. It's not really his glory. It's really the appearance of when he manifests himself in terms of the Shekinah, right? So I really feel that dwelling among them is not the right wording. For example, when Yehoshua dwelled among men as a human being, no mistake, that was him dwelling among us in a fleshly tabernacle. So I think that that is a big difference in my mind. So that's verse 8. I'm just going to write here, it's a big difference. And then the next verse is verse 9. In the mountain has been omitted, which I show you in the mountain. Furniture versus instruments. Okay. Furniture can be an umbrella term to include instruments, whereas instruments is more specific and doesn't really leave it up to, it's not as open to envelop more items. So that's verse 9. Verse 11. Verse 11 says, golden wreaths twisted. Golden wreaths twisted versus a crown of gold roundabout. They're both roundabout. This is a continuous difference that you will see throughout this chapter and the narrative. Verse 15, they shall not be taken from it, was added and implied in the Septuagint by the word fixed. Verse 16, testimonies versus testimony, so plural, singular, because 2 tablets were given to Moses, to Moshe, as well as other items commanded to be placed inside, but this is referring to that which was given, which also included manna and the budding of Aaron's rod. So we had the rod in there as well. So it is not simply an ark of testimony, it's an ark of the testimonies. There are multiple witnesses, and that's why that must be qualified or quantified, especially when you take into account these multiple items that were to be kept inside of the ark as proofs. So that's 16. Verse 17, propitiatory. This means peacemaking. This could mean cleansing. This could mean forgiveness. And lid. So you shall make the propitiatory or propitiatory and a lid of pure gold versus a mercy seat. So as you can see, although mercy seat is a nice term, nice sounding at least, and it's something that most people who are familiar with the Masoretic text, they can tell you what a mercy seat is. It's the lid of the Ark of the Covenant. But when we call it the propitiatory, there's much more connotations with this term. There's a lot more you can associate with it, as I just explained to you. Verse 18, Is this a breaking of the second commandment? Let's read it. You shall make 2 cherubs graven in gold. So this is a graven image. You shall put them on both sides of the propitiatory. So this is the commandment of Yah, of Elohim. He's saying, make these 2 cherubs graven in gold. Is this a breach? Is this breaking the second commandment where you're not to have graven images? Well, technically, it isn't breaking the commandment because it's not an idol. It is a graven image. However, which would be a contradiction of the Masoretic text, the version of command number 2. In the Septuagint version, it says idol, don't make any idols. It doesn't say graven image. So you can make a graven image. And probably the most important thing when it comes to idol or graven image is you don't worship it. You don't bow down to it. So that's very much forbidden across the board. Verse 22 says here, make myself known to you. I will make myself known to you from there, from this propitiatory. I will speak to you. Okay, so that's what it says there. I will make myself known to you versus I will meet with you. So I would say there's a big difference as well. Elohim meeting with a human being is very, that's a big deal. But making himself known could mean I'm making my will known to you, or I'm revealing the word to you, or I'm revealing instructions to you. I'm making things known to you. I will make, well, it says here specifically, I'll make myself known to you. So how do you get to know him? Is by obeying him. It's by learning about his instructions, the Torah, learning about his law. It's to know God, Elohim, is to obey him, is to study his instructions. So it's being intimate with our Creator is to know him, if that makes any sense. It's having a closer relationship. So that's where they, I suppose this is where they converse in a way, face to face. I think that's how it is said, that he spoke to Moses face to face, like a man does his friend. And we're going to read that later on. So that's an interesting verse. I'd say it's a pretty big difference as well. I'm going to write that down. Big diff. Verse 23, Shittim wood was added in the Masoretic text. Perhaps this was pure gold, like the menorah. It was pure. It was a pure graven work / beaten gold. So verse 23, you can see it's pure gold. The table, I should say. So this is describing the table. So many know that the menorah is famously known as a solid piece of gold. It's a solid piece and it's beaten into its form. It's the way it is structured, or the way it is manifested, how it has been molded, you could say. Whereas the table isn't commonly seen this way, that the table, people think of the table as, okay, they just carve it and they overlay it with gold. However, you can see here, you shall make a golden table of pure gold. I don't see any wood there. Wood is not mentioned at all. Verse 24 to 25. So in verses 24 to 25, you'll see that it uses the term crown. You shall make for it a crown. This is talking about the table again. Whereas the Masoretic text describes it as a border instead of a crown. And then in verse 27, over against the border was added to the Masoretic text. 29, censers versus spoons. And it censers. So it says spoons in the Masoretic. I believe it is censers because that is used in the prayers. When you take the censer, you put a coal in it. I believe it was coal, and you let the smoke come out of the censer. Okay, so that's 29. Cups versus covers. You also have offer drink offerings. You shall offer drink offerings versus cover withal. To cover withal. That's a big difference because a drink offering is something that is liquid and you offer it, you pour it. Whereas a cover withal sounds like something you just cover everything with. It's a covering. That's not the same at all. It's a big difference. Verse 31, graven work versus beaten. So again, this is the menorah, the candlestick. You shall make the candlestick of graven work versus beaten work. So people think it's beaten. You take a hammer, you beat it. This is graven. I'm not sure what the process is for that, but it's described as such, graven. And next we see here lilies versus flowers. So lilies versus flowers, it's more specific as to what kind of flower it is. And this is a continuous difference as well, lilies and flowers. And one piece, all of this shall be one piece. So you can see it's not pieces put together like a puzzle, it's one piece and you graven it as one solid piece of gold. Versus of the same, shall be of the same. I think that's a similar kind of thought, that it's the same piece. The whole verse of 35 is different, so let's read this. A knop under two branches of it. Okay, next on the Masoretic, there shall be a knop under two branches of the same, all right, and a knop under four branches of it, and a knop under two branches of the same. Okay, so the difference right there in terms of numbers. So to the 6 branches proceeding from the candlestick. So to the 6 branches proceeding from the candlestick. Okay, and here in the Masoretic, and a knop under 2 branches of the same. And then the last part of the Septuagint, and in the candlestick 4 bowls fashioned like almonds. Okay, let's read the Masoretic now. According to the 6 branches that proceed out of the candlestick. So that is very different. It's not the same at all. Maybe the first section of the verse is similar, but the rest of it is very different. Overall, they both have 6 branches, but the way that this is being described as a knop under 4 branches versus a knop under 2, and a knop under 2 branches the same. So maybe it's just 2 on each side, so it is 4 technically. And then the 6 branches proceeding from the candlestick, and in the candlestick 4 bowls like almonds. In the Masoretic text doesn't even mention the bowls or almonds. Okay, so that's verse 35. Verse 37, from one front, okay, they shall shine from one front. This is the menorah again, verses over against it. They may give light over against it. Over against what? Okay, so you can see that's a difference there. And the last verse we're going to look at is 38. You shall make its funnel versus tongs. Tongs, okay. So regarding the funnel, a funnel is a piece of, it's like something that's wide at the bottom and then it gets thinner at the top. That's a funnel. Whereas tongs, a lot of us understand tongs as a grasping device that has two arms, and you use tongs to grab. Let's say you go to a buffet, you use tongs to pick up food. So those are two very different things. That's why I noted that. So that's all for this chapter. This is Exodus 25. Thank you very much for your time. May God bless you and make your way prosperous. Until next time, this is Jack Knight signing off for Secrets Revealed, the Holy Bible. Shalom.